And as you settle into this early morning yoga practice, I'd like to share a poem with you. It's a poem I probably should have shared yesterday because it's titled The Shortest Day by Susan Cooper. So the shortest day came, and the year died, and everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came people, singing, dancing, to drive the dark away. They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen. They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive. And when the New Year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling. Through all the frosty ages, you can hear them, echoing behind us. Listen. All the long echoes sing the same delight, the shortest day. As promise wakens in the sleeping land, they carol, feast, give thanks, and dearly love their friends, and hope for peace. And so do we, here, now, this year, and every year. Welcome, Yule. So let's pause on that for a moment. Yesterday was our shortest day. And today, a little more light trickles into the sky. And over the next few months, the sun will be higher and brighter in the sky. And it feels like light is returning. And there is a place for that darkness too. I think of my years in Alaska and how my body really did want to hibernate when I had that much less light. It's a time to slow down, to turn inward and become contemplative. And we're still in that season. So we can revel and invite the light in, feel into this upward sun trajectory. And still we can learn from the cycles to pause, to become quiet. And in this quiet winter, we can turn the gaze and the senses inward, pratyahara. And we can concentrate on getting to know ourselves, our inner landscapes. And whatever the season, we can look for, feel for awe, for the everyday transformative wonders. Let's begin this journey into the mystery with the breath this morning. Feel where the breath enters your body, how it moves along the nasal passages and expands the lung tissue. Feel the mystery of this unique breath. Into your one unique and mysterious body. It's part of a community of many, many bodies on our little planet. Feel these breaths pulse inside you. And let yourself be breathed this morning. Relax into the pulse as if someone were breathing into you life force energy. We know we don't have to pay attention to the breath, and it continues on. And we have an opportunity to feel into the wonder of this breath. Feel how it lifts and releases the bones in the rib cage, the collarbones, the arms. Feel for that drum skin between your abdomen and your thorax moving, sending ripples through the abdomen, energy that gently moves the waters of the body. Picture the oxygen moving through the alveoli into your bloodstream, the hemoglobin carrying it to the far reaches of your body, delivering it to the tissues. Picture all the little capillaries of lymph, the tiniest streamlets, pulsed by the breath, so that water releases from your tissues and is cleansed through the system of lymph. Ah, the wonders of this body in community on this tiny planet, floating in space. I was curious yesterday and I asked Siri, how far is Earth away from the moon? And Siri told me 240,000 miles. I tried to wrap my head around that distance. Feel the spaciousness of that. And then I asked Siri, how far are we from the sun? And Siri said, depends on the cycle, but about 93 million miles. And as hard as I try, I can't wrap my mind around that. It's a mystery to me. It fills me with awe. You breathe into that recognition of space. Come, 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 sit. Isabel, sit. Come. I'm in class. Come here. Izzy. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. As the light returns, may we revel in the continual change and all the new wonder it brings on this day of more light. Namaste. Okay, I'd like us to begin today on our backs. And let's begin with the center of our bodies, the core. And let's feel in from this center outward to the most distant fingertips and toes. Let's come into constructive rest with our feet on the floor, heels aligned with our sit bones, and come into somatic walking, a gentle rocking of the pelvis back and forth. Deep breaths into the torso. An opening of the shoulder girdle broad. A rocking of the pelvis back and forth. Feel into the rock of the pelvis and the lumbar spine. And stretch the knee forward out over the toes as you dig the foot into the mat a little bit and even draw the foot slightly back towards the buttocks. Feel into the stretch. This engages along the spine, through the hip. Feel into the shoulder girdle on the ground and how the weight shifts in the shoulders as the hips rock. And then still the pelvis and lift the hands towards the sky, palm facing palm, and reach the arms out of their sockets and relax the arm bones back down and wide. And reach the arms up out of their sockets and relax the arm bones down and wide. And let the arms pulse skyward, releasing to earth, skyward, releasing to earth, skyward. And then take the arms overhead, palm facing palm. Feel into the four corners of your feet And exhale the arms back up towards the sky and down towards the hips. Palms up, thumbs out. And then inhale, palm facing palm. Reach the arms overhead. Let the palms turn skyward, the thumbs turn in. And then exhale the arms back through, thumbs out, palms up. And it's okay if your arms don't go fully to the floor. Just stretch them to where it's comfortable overhead. And then exhale, bring the arms back down by your hips, sacrum planted. Feet planted, we move these limbs that are connected into the core. And this time, when you exhale the arms down, bend the elbows at a 90-degree and face the palms towards each other over the belly. And float one foot to tabletop, shin parallel to the floor, and release it down. And exhale the next shin up. And inhale, float it down light as a feather. And exhale, and inhale, and exhale, and inhale. And feel into the asymmetry and the movement of the pelvis, getting to know the subtleties in the hips, in the front hip flexors. And next time you exhale one leg up, pause. Take an inhale and exhale the next leg up. And place your hands on your femurs, flex your feet, press your hands into your femurs, pull your femurs towards your chest, broad across your collarbones. Work at about 10% of effort to start. Can you keep a lengthened spine, gaze perpendicular to the floor, and press the hands into the legs and hug the legs towards the chest at 20 or 30% of effort. Maybe you move up to 40 or 50, but make sure you don't contract the shoulder joints too much or compress around the vertebrae. We're working this abdominal core, strengthening it, but we don't want to compress too much, compromise the joints. So we press and pull in a place where we can still spread ourselves spacious. Invite in the new light. And now draw the knees towards your chest. Circle them wide apart and back together again. Good morning, hips. We open around the whole circumference of the femur bone, really wanting a balance and harmony through all the muscles of the hips. Bring the knees together and take the circles the other way. Feel into how you may flatten the lumbar curve as you draw the knees towards your chest and how you expand it as the knees move down the mat. And now bring the knees together and circle in one direction. Feel into the circumference or the perimeter of your sacrum. It's not round, so it doesn't really have the full circumference idea, but it feels like it in these circles. Feel into your SI joints on either side. Feel towards your tailbone, towards the platform at the top of your sacrum where your lumbar spine lengthens from. Take your circles the other way. Massaging the SI joints can help the sacrum settle into position if it's a little out of alignment. Fluid breath. Feeling into the wonders of our own body. Taking the time to really delve deep. And then bringing the knees towards the chest, bring your hands back to the hamstrings, holding behind the knees, lift your feet towards the sky, and gently rock back and forth. Good morning, pelvis, hips, hamstrings. Let us be a happy baby just waking up to the day. And then let's draw the right knee in and lengthen the left leg out at your 45-degree angle. Nod your nose a little towards your mouth and almost lift your head from the hairline. Don't lift it off the floor. See if you can find a 50% lift. That might take lifting it and then being like, okay, what's 50% of that? Lengthen the back of the neck, lift from the hairline, not the chin, and switch legs. The outside hand reaches down the leg for the ankle, the inside hand to the inner knee as we switch and switch and switch, keeping the front neck flexors strong. We establish movement from the core of the body, from the lower dantian, from the hara, from the center. And then draw both knees in and inhale, reach hands and feet straight up for the sky. Bring your feet into a little V, heels together, inner legs zipped, and take your wrists away from your ankles. Encircle the arms and hug the knees in. And reach out to your point of control where you have a neutral lumbar curve and you're not flaring the ribs. We reach, a circle, and hug. You can still be gently lifting from the hairline, waking up those front neck flexors, which are oftentimes long and weak in our modern day posture. Reach the heels away from the wrists, maintaining your neutral lumbar curve when you lengthen the limbs. And hug the limbs back in and bring the right foot overhead, left foot long and gently pulse, pulse, and switch. Pulse, pulse, and switch. Make the little pulse of the leg just an inch. Make precision of movement the focus here as you shine the legs out of the pelvic center. Oftentimes, if we can strengthen and balance in the core, we can find more balance in the outer hips. Fluid breath, moving from the core. Feel for how the legs connect back in towards the spine. And bring the feet together and bend the knees. And pause with the breath. And rock the tailbone towards earth. And then flatten your lumbar curve, rocking the knees. Just a gentle rocking of the spine for a moment. The shoulders broad and grounded. And then coming to neutral, dip one toe towards the floor, keeping your knee at a right angle, and exhale the leg back up. Inhale, dip the other leg, and exhale back up. Really feel into this center core, where the movement originates. Where does the movement begin? Feel for it. The wonder of movement itself in this one unique body. Now bring your legs up together again, hands on the front of your femur bones. One more time. Begin at 10% of effort. Press palms into femurs, femurs into palms. Draw your navel back towards your spine and energy along the spine. Even find a gentle lift to the pelvic floor as you strengthen the push and pull between the hands and the femurs. Feel into what stabilizes you here. We want this inner core turned on. It supports us in daily life. as we step back towards sunnier days and more activity. Now again, hug the knees in and circle the femur bones wide apart and back together again. Take your circles the other way and enjoy the rest in the core. Let it relax as the legs move. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Come back up to your tabletop. Bring your hands behind your head, one on top of the other, and exhale. Lift the right elbow as you lengthen the right leg. Rest the head back, traction it from the base of the skull, and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. Fluid breath. Reaching the elbow skyward, lengthening the leg. Feel, where does this movement originate from? Where does it come back together inside your body? And isn't it amazing? You can ask your body to do this movement, strengthening the center of yourself. Good morning, obliques. Come back to center and release the head. Arms relax. Float one foot to the floor and then the other. Somatic walking. Rocking the pelvis gently side to side. Drawing the foot back towards the pelvis, reaching the knee forward. Fluid breath. And now gently take your arms overhead or take them wide into a T. Walk your feet as wide as your mat and take the knees off to the left, reaching through the right knee, the right pelvis up to the right lumbar spine. And take an inhale, stretch from knee to shoulder. And on the exhale, relax into the hug of gravity. Open this long fascial line. Inhale and stretch. Exhale, relax it open. And a few more times. Lengthening the whole fascial chain of the psoas. And then exhale through center, taking the knees to the right. Inhale, length from the pelvis up into the armpit. From the pelvis down to the knee. Inhaling the stretch. Exhaling the release into the hug of gravity. Inhaling the lengthening, the decompressing of the hip. Exhaling the relax, open. We pulse the body like a flickering star. In yoga, this is a spanda. And exhale back to center. Bring your arms into a cactus position around your head. And exhale your pinkies together. And inhale your arms open. And exhale, pinkies together, palms facing you. And then open, palms towards sky. Exhale the lift and inhale the opening. And now feel the arms moving around your central channel. Feel for muscle tissue that connects the arms deeper down the spine. Fluid breath. And lift the arms skyward, palm facing palm. Reach the fingers for the sky. Lift the shoulders off the floor. Release the shoulders back to earth. Lift and release. Lift and release, flossing the shoulders. Opening the whole center channel of the torso. One more time. Lift the fingers as high as you can. Stretch the fascia. And then relax the arm bones to earth and release your palms to your belly. Take a deep inhale into your hands. Exhale through pursed lips. Feel for your transverse abdominis, the corset muscle turning on. And then soften and inhale. Exhale, activating this center core through pursed lips, breathing out through a straw, and then softening for the inhales. On your next pursed lipped exhale, feel for a lift of the pelvic floor into the body without changing the curve of your lumbar spine. And then soften and inhale. And exhale through pursed lips. Activate this center inner core. Soften for the inhale. Now, as you exhale, lift the pelvic floor. Feel the transverse abdominis. Feel for a gentle hug right in around the spine. Soften and relax. Feel for that hug of the multifidi as you exhale through your straw. Really try not to change the lumbar curve, but actually feel for the core muscles without tilting the pelvis. Get to know these wonderful muscles that help you stabilize in daily activities. We want these muscles to turn on a millisecond before the outer core muscles. So we get to know them. Good morning, inner core. And then let's gently roll over onto our sides and come up onto hands and knees. And inhale your cow. And exhale your cat. And inhale cow, stretch from crown to tail. And exhale cat. And inhale. And exhale. And this next inhale, pause, stretching your crown away from your tail. Pause in the cow, lengthening the front of the spine, lengthening those hip flexors we were just working. And then exhale, navel lifts towards the sky. Press your hands away from your knees and breathe into the low back body. Feel for a stretch here. And then come to neutral, taking your left fingertips out. Float the left shoulder blade onto your back. The wrist does not lift higher than the shoulder. Now, even here, see if you can lengthen the spine. And if you'd like to, float the right leg up in a doggy at the fire hydrant position. And then lower shin and fingertips and inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. And feel your obliques working. Feel your spine lengthening, your stabilizers turned on. And release the hand and shin and take the right hand out and float the right shoulder blade onto the ribs. The wrist stays lower than the shoulder. Pause with just the arm lifted and feel into lengthening from crown to tail. Maintain that length as you lift the left shin. And exhale, lower fingers and shin. Inhale, lift. Keep the front neck flexors stabilizing the neck length and the back of the neck. Inhaling the lift, exhaling the release. Inhale, lift, and pause. Feel for the muscles that stabilize you, the wonder of it. And exhale, release, and inhale your cow. And exhale your cat. And flow with your breath, inviting space between the vertebrae, each direction. Coming back to neutral, Take your knees wide, big toes together, and roll back into child's pose. Plant each finger and grip the mat with your fingers. Draw the fingers towards your palms slightly and feel the center palm activate and lift. As the center palm lifts, lift your inner armpits and roll up into your downward dog. Bend the knees in towards your armpits and take the inner thighs back. And then slowly take your femur bones back. Lift your head above your arms and lengthen the spine. Relax onto your shoulder girdle and then lengthen the pelvis away from the shoulders. And float one foot up behind you, toes still pointing towards the floor. Feel into the stretch of the grounding leg. And float the lifted leg down and lift the other side. And float the lifted leg down and lift the first leg again. This time bend the knee, lift one hip over the other and press the foot back behind you in a twist. But keep the shoulders level to the floor. Breathe deep into your pelvis. Press from the strong shoulder girdle into each finger pad. Continue to draw the fingers towards the palm. Lift the center palm. Lift the center wrist up towards the armpits. And then release hips back to neutral. Lower the lifted leg and float the other leg up. Bend the knee. Press the foot behind you into the twist. Shoulder girdle stays level with the floor. Reach into each finger pad. Fluid breath. Right into the center of your pelvis. And then gently release out of the twist and walk your dog. And roll forward into a plank, lengthening your spine. Remember, you can lower to your knees if that's healthier for your back. Fluid breath, rocking forward and back over your toe hinges. Good morning, feet. We remember that hinges that are used don't rust. Pause and lift one heel off the floor. Feel into how the core stabilizes you in each direction. Lower the lifted foot and lift the other side. Lengthen the spine. Lift the front neck. And roll back into downward dog. And float down onto your knees. And reach for a bolster or two blankets. And bring it right under your torso. If you're on either one, bring a block in for your forehead. The bolster comes right under the lowest ribs and supports you, but your breasts can hang out over the front of the bolster. And the forehead comes to the block with your arms parallel to each other, palms facing the block. Toes rolled under again. Press down into your forearms and lift the navel, lift the pelvis, lift the low rib ring. Float up off your bolster, reaching tailbone for heels, base of skull away from tailbone. And let the breath pulse your body. You may almost lift off the bolster or blanket pile, or you may actually lift off. Feel into your own strength. Connect the working muscles back in your consciousness to that wonder of that center core. And release down. Relax and let the energy radiate out from the center core like you yourself are a sun, and the energy is flowing through you. Float one leg up behind you and lengthen it down the mat. Float the other leg up, lengthen it down the mat. Press into your forearms and lift the heart. Keeping the neck long, take your elbows a little farther forward and isometrically draw the arms back, lifting the chest into a sphinx pose. Root your pubic bone and take an inhale. Exhale through pursed lips. Lift the pelvic floor into the body. Feel your transverse abdominis. Take a few of these breaths. Feel the wonder of the center core of your being. This is the practice of pratyahara and the practice of dharana, turning the senses inward with concentration. Now take your palms back, palms down, thumbs out, and find your strong shoulder blades on the back. Rooting the pubic bone, reach the tailbone for your heels and float up into your salambasana, working the back of your core. Shoulders broad across the back can help you lift the collarbones. Take another inhale and exhale through your pursed lips, activating the transverse abdominis, the multifidi, to support the myofascial sling work you're doing here. Can you link across the back body from your right shoulder to your left buttock, from your left shoulder to your right buttock? Create that construction X. And then exhale, relax back down. Forearms parallel to each other, forehead resting on the block. Relax your legs. Breathe deep into the belly. Feel how this breath massages the belly against your bolster or blanket pile. This can help us keep the contents of the intestines moving. Great work for the digestive system. Now, with your forehead on the block, roll across one eyebrow. Roll back through center across the other eyebrow. And if you find tension here, you know the muscles of your face have been working to express yourself into the world. Slowly roll back and forth, and you can roll up your forehead. And you can roll back down towards your eyebrows, changing where you place the pressure to help you release tension from this whole myofascial matrix. And then lengthen the legs out again. Rooting into the forearms, float, pelvis, navel, low ribs, almost off or off the bolster. Coming into your low plank, long spine. Awakened core. You can exhale through pursed lips if you want to feel for the activation of that inner core. And then release back down. Take a deep inhale. Exhale through pursed lips. Feel the activation of the inner core and then press into your forearms and float the torso. Long neck. And release back to the bolster and point your toes behind you. Bring your hands beside your hips, palms down, thumbs out. Lift across the collarbones. Lengthen from crown chakra through the pelvic floor, down the legs, through the feet. Reach out through each finger. Stretch the hands. Fist the hands. Stretch the hands and the feet. Fist them both. Stretch and fist and stretch and fist like a pulsing star. Feel into the work in your back body. The wonder of the interconnectedness of this whole form. And then release your hands under your shoulders and isometrically draw the hands back and roll up into your cobra. whatever height is right for you. Maybe you lift the chin and take the chin slightly forward, stretching the neck. Breathe into recognition of your thyroid and parathyroid glands here, like a little bow tie at the base of your neck. And then roll back down. And inhale, roll back up. Lengthening the spine by gently drawing the hands back. Still a lift under the navel. Pubic bone grounded, tailbone reaching for your heels. And exhale, roll back down, lengthening the spine. And float back into a supported child's pose. Let yourself rest here, breathing deep into the belly. Fluid breath. Breathe deep into the back hips. And if you'd like to, rock your pelvis a little back and forth, side to side. What do you notice with your gaze inward? And then release yourself off the bolster. Come once again into your downward dog. Walking the dog. This time, I want you to step your left foot underneath your right and take it across the mat. Now, with your left femur in front of your right femur, gently press back into the right leg. This will help you stretch those deep hip muscles. Fluid breath. Does this make sense? Yep, Katie, that's right. Maybe even a little farther off to the right with the left foot. Yeah. And then you can bend both knees and you can take the hips back behind you, and hopefully you're feeling some stretch in the right hip muscles. If not, wag your tail and see if you can find the stretch. And then step the left foot back through. Take the right leg under the left, across to the left. Bend both knees. Press the right leg into the left leg and take the hips back. On this side, for me, I feel it more down my leg into my IT band. I'm going to wag my tail a little more on the side. It was easy for me to find it on the right. On the left, a little harder. Notice the asymmetries in your own body. But if I take my hip out at a left diagonal, then I find it. I breathe deep into the tissue that's stretching. And step back into your downward dog and walk your feet forward. Bend the knees. Relax the belly onto the femurs. And then with the belly on the femurs, see how high you can lift the sit bones. Don't compromise. Don't lift the torso off the femur bones. When you keep the belly on the femurs and you straighten the legs, you really are stretching your hamstrings instead of the spaces between your lumbar vertebrae. We don't want to be cat curling the lumbar spine here because that can cause disc injury. And then let's bend the knees. Heels under sit bones, second metatarsals aligned. Come up to your Utkatasana. Fluid breath. Release your hands and let the arms swing. Release the humerus bones out of the shoulder girdle. And inhale, stretch for the sky, interlace the fingers, thumbs to the base of the skull, and lift. Lift the elbows. Keep the pubic bone and tailbone level as you root the legs, and perhaps release your arms, imagining your rainbow, your feet in the forest, and your fingers in the sky. Fluid breath. Exhale, hands to the heart, mountain pose. Step your feet outer hip distance wide and come into figure eights with your pelvis. Feel into stretching into that outer hip. Bring your hands to the pelvic core and think for a moment, where does this movement originate from? Breathe into your own awareness of this moving body. It's really quite beautiful how we move. Take your hips into circles, back behind you and forward, stretching the muscles all around the hips. Fluid breath. And then come to center and walk your feet wide, hands in the hip crease. Follow the hands down to the knees and release the pelvis towards the floor and gently rock one side to the other. I was working with a friend of mine who's a rolfer yesterday, and I said, what I want to do is my yoga practice and tell you where my myofascial matrix is tight. And he said, okay, great. So I went through like 10 yoga poses and showed him, like, this side is tighter when I do it here. What's happening? And then I got on his table and he started unwinding my fascia. And so part of what I realized is when we may have tightness in one part of the hip, like let's say the piriformis, it may be related to tightness in other muscles in the other leg or opposing muscles in the same leg. So we work to strengthen and to stretch all the way around. And now let's straighten the legs, lift the arms skyward, open into your cactus arms, bend the knees again, and take the left shoulder around towards the right buttock and release back to center. And take the right shoulder towards the left buttock and release to center. And as you twist, feel into the stretch of this myofascial matrix of your unique body. Each of us unique, so the stretch will happen differently for all of us. As a child, I used to sit in this window seat we had and watch the snowflakes fall towards the ground. Feel into the unique snowflake of your own body. The wonder of it. And then rooting your feet, reach the arms towards the sky and pulse the hands open and fist and pulse and fist. Yes, there's the benefit of moving the lymph here, but we're also stretching the myofascial web from the hands down the forearms into the shoulders. Now straighten the front leg and turn the left foot out, right heel back, star pose. Bend into your Virabhadrasana 2 and pause. Gaze out over your fingers. Now feel into your pelvis and press your feet apart on the mat. Root down into the four corners of each foot and draw the feet towards each other and press them apart and draw them towards each other and pulse in the inner pelvis. Bring your left hand to your femur, right arm alongside the ear. Root into earth. Lift the heart towards the heavens. And if you'd like to, come to your forearm and bow the heart towards earth. And inhale the heart towards the heavens. And pulsate the myofascial web Feel how the side waist lengthens and how this may also stretch into the fascia of the shoulder and the hip. Ah, it's all connected. Come into your neutral Parsvakonasana if you'd like to. Rainbow the arm over. Breathe into the right side body opening. Stabilize with the left leg. And then exhale through your pursed lips. Activate the inner core to float back up and into your dancing warrior. Shoulder girdle relaxing away from ears. Make sure the inner arch of the back foot is lifting up through the inner knee to the pelvic floor. And float into your Viratu, straightening the front leg, turn it in. And turn the right foot out. Take your left heel back. Star pose into your Viratu. Pause here. And from the center pelvis, press the legs apart from each other, rooting the four corners of each foot. Relax across your shoulder girdle. Rest your arms on water and hug the legs towards each other. And press them apart and hug them towards each other. And feel that inner motion inside the pelvis as you pulse and pull and pulse and pull. And then ground evenly. And bring right hand to the femur. Left arm alongside the ear. And rooting into the feet, lift the heart. And then bow the heart towards earth. Perhaps you come to your forearm, perhaps not. And inhale the lift of the heart. And exhale the release of the heart. And notice if the stretch on this side body is different from the other. It's like an unwinding and unraveling of the fascia. Fluid breath. And they think, those that are doing this kind of cadaver and anatomy research, that maybe some of the ways our bodies are asymmetrical has to do with the way we were cozy in the womb, the kind of direction we took as we circled our body into that little fetal position. Now coming to your neutral, rainbow the top arm over and breathe into that fascia. Relax the foot away from the fingertips. Lift the center. And then exhale through pursed lips. Activate that inner core to float yourself back up and into your dancing warrior. Shoulders relaxing away from skull. Breathe into your pulsing body. And then float, arms up, straightening the front leg. Turn it in and step back together, mountain pose. And let the hands shake and the knees bounce. And let the shake move up to your elbows, up to your shoulders, and up to even a nodding head. And let go hypertonic muscles. And think about this center core. And let your arms begin swinging forward to back. And let yourself begin a little jog. And as you jog, feel into movement from that center core and go a little faster. And see, oh, can I stay in tune with movement from the center place in my body, even as I do something really different than we normally do in yoga? Let yourself run for a moment. Feel into the movement up the spine. How did the shoulder girdle respond? And then slow it down. And then pause in mountain, releasing your arms. Invite the breath to pulse inside the body. And root into your right foot. And draw the left foot in for Vrksasana, lifting your kickstand or bringing your foot to your calf or to your inner thigh. Root into the four corners of your standing leg and let the torso lengthen, lifting your low rib ring away from your pelvis, lifting a ring around the center of your chest away from the low ribs, lifting the base of your skull, fluid breath. You can stay here or take the lifted knee forward and float the foot up into Padangusthasana. Stretch out of each limb from that center core and release. Mountain pose. Body pulsating. Breath moving through us. Root the next foot. Make sure it's wide open, not crumpled small. And as you're ready, lift your limbs. Imagine there's a center core that rises from the inner arch of your standing foot up the inseam of that leg, through the pelvic floor, up the sleeve of the spine, out the crown chakra. Draw energy through that center channel from earth to sky, from sky to earth. You can stay here or bring the lifted knee forward. And from that center pelvis, shine out through to the grounding foot, up the spine, out the limbs. And release, mountain. Shoulder blades on the back body, above your hip pockets. Come into standing Shavasana. Breathe into the mystery of movement. And then as you're ready, come down to the floor. Have your pillows, your blankets, your eye pillows ready. And decide what Shavasana you'd like to take today. Maybe you'd like a Supta Baddha Konasana to open your heart towards the light. We have our bolster here. We could bring it in. Bring a blanket folded over the top end. And bring the blocks in for our knees. If that doesn't sound good to you, maybe you want a simple Shavasana with a bolster under your knees. Maybe you really want your legs up on your furniture. You decide. We did a lot of work on our backs today. And here we come back onto our backs. Whatever pose you're choosing, let yourself really get comfortable in it. Nestle down. Maybe your hands rest on your belly. Maybe they rest out to the side, palms up, welcoming in this new year. Perhaps they rest out to your side, palms down, grounding you towards earth. You decide. And let's come back in to awareness of the pulsing breath. Feel for the movement of your diaphragm, sending ripples down through the abdomen towards your lower dantian, your hara, your center. Now the center gets to rest. The limbs get to relax. And the breath moves the energy. See if you can relax deep in this central core. Relax along the channel of the spine. Relax the muscles between the vertebrae. Fluid breath. Breathe deep into the low back and the hips. And invite the muscles deep in the low back and hips to relax. To release into the hug of gravity. To invite this winter pause. And as you feel your body unravel the tension, can you compliment the different muscles that release? Ah, thank you. Oh, that feels good. The body, like the mind, does well with authentic, positive feedback. Now feel into the muscles of the periphery, your face, your hands, your feet, and invite those to relax. And then come back deep into the hip muscles and invite those to release. Really stay concentrated. Feel for the release. Feel deep into the center of the belly, towards this lower dantian, this hora, this center. And for a few more breaths, invite relaxation and ease. And now gently draw energy back into the fingers and the toes. And from that center core, stretch your body outward, petting whatever animal comes into your range of motion. And then slowly begin to release from the toes. Stretching and lifting up and coming back to your comfortable seat. Take your time. Fluid breath. Breathe deep towards that center. Deep into muscles you have the tendency to overactivate. Inviting release on the exhale. Let's inhale the hands to the heart. May we, as we step towards the light in the new year, feel for the transformative power of wonder and awe inside the body and out in the world. Namaste. Thank you for coming to class.